What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show off my branded Despia list that I played at my locals on Tuesday, winning locals with branded, which is very nice for me. I've been having quite decent success recently, winning 3 out of my last 5 or 3 out of my last 6 locals, 2 with the Runic White Force Bestials, including a bigger display tournament, and now with branded as well, which I'm very happy about. Branded is kind of like my favorite deck, my pet deck, that I first started playing with again after absence from Yu-Gi-Oh for about 15 years, and I returned late last year and started going to locals April this year, so I'm very happy about finally getting a locals win with branded. The deck obviously changed a lot with the Banlist since Branded Fusion went to 1, because now we can't just rely on drawing branded and baiting interruptions with our other cards, but now you have to be a little bit smarter about your resource loop, your resource game. But yeah, we'll just get into the list and you'll see along the way. For the main deck, we're clean 50 cards. We're running typical 3 Fallen of Valbas, 2 of each of the ladies, so 2 Quem, 2 Cartasia, 3 Alibur to search our Branded Fusion, 3 Shrouded Dragon. This card is crazy in this deck. It was for a long time very undervalued. Shrouded Dragon obviously being an upstart goblin, but also Foolish Burial for your branded cards at the same time. This sends you your Albas to your graveyard, this sends you Retribution, your Branded Fusion, so you can access your Branded Fusion and maybe have a target for a Branded Red in the end phase to bring out the Sanctifier on the opponent's turn. So this is a very good card in this deck and very mandatory. Even in lower deck counts, I would still play it at 3. For our grind game, we have the Spring and Skid. Branded Fusion obviously got limited to 1, so Kid is very important for the grind game to retrieve it. There isn't too many ways because you can only search it once with your brand opening usually. So after you banished it with your Fusion duplication, or maybe you already used your Retribution on turn 1 to get your Branded Fusion to hand, maybe have your Tragedy banished, there isn't a lot of ways to really access Branded Fusion anymore, so you use the Spring and Skid, maybe search it off lost to get access to your Branded Fusion again. For lower targets, we're playing double Merc and 1 Despia Tragedy. Both of those, of course, have very good other effects as well. Tragedy can search a Despian, can reset your Branded Fusion or your other branded spells. Mercuria can search pretty much any of your branded monsters and has a monster negate on the opponent's turn or even on your turn as well, but it's very good for that reason. We play only a little Bestial Engine, so 2 Savernier, 1 Lebellion. I opted for only 2, I tried 3, but I didn't really like it because often enough your Savernier is kind of a dead card in the hand if you don't draw it in the right combinations, so you can't access your Cartasia, you don't have your Branded High Spirits, so then it's kind of like a little bit of a dead draw. A lot of people play Magnamut now as well, which generally is a very good card in Branded because it searches any of your dragons in the end phase for your grind game. But right now, especially with Branded Fusion to 1, you really want to draw a lot of playable engine cards so that you can play 3 interruptions. Magnamut doesn't really help with that. Also with High Spirits, if you send Savernier or Shrouded Dragon, you have a lot of resource generation that Magnamut can't help you get to. And now the win condition of the deck still being the Puppet. Before I would advocate for a place like the triple Mirror J play with sending Ad Libitum instead of the Puppet. You could play some cool Predator lines that are Mirror J plus the Dragoon, but now those are kind of dead because the grind game is just too weak, so I think it's way smarter now to just always pop a lock and just focus on that as your win condition. For spells, we have our Branded one-offs, Branded Fusion, Branded Wet, and Branded Lost. Branded Red, if you play higher deck count, for example 60 cards, then I would play this at 2, but right now with 50, I feel 2 copies or even 3 would just overdo it. I think 1 is just fine. Then for more starters, we have our Branded Opening, our Fusion Deployment, and only as a 2-off, our Branded High Spirits, playing as a 1-offs as well, Foolish Burial, Gold Sark, and Called By. These 2 being very good starters. This one to play through interruptions. Foolish can basically send you anything that generates resources other than Mercuria. And Gold Sark just banishes Tragedy or Merc. It's very nice for that. 3 lore to draw into our Broad Breakers, but also generate a lot of advantage if you draw it in combination with Tragedy or Mercuria. Even this with Branded Opening is very nice because you can use Opening in your draw phase to search for Tragedy, activate a lure, banish the Tragedy, go +1, which is very good as well. Then we're on 3 triple tactics thrust, 1 talons, and for the other board breakers, I don't have any more space here, we're on 3 Book of Eclipse and 3 Forbidden Droplet. We have Operant Retribution for a ground game, and if we get ashed for a thrust target, we have the Fusion Duplication. I chose these 2 especially since Book of Eclipse is very good going first and second, and compared to Dark Ruler, compared to Evenly, you can still set the droplet to have value on the opponent's turn. Still a very good card then, because you can negate 1 or even multiple monsters on the board, which Dark Ruler, Evenly Matched cards like this are just dead cards in your hand if you go first. So I like these 2. This dodges Imperm Veiler as well. It's very nice. Even Ghost Mourner you can dodge with this, so it's a very good card in my books. Going second, there's of course side deck options, but we'll just go into that in a second. For the extra deck, we're on 2 Mirror Jade, 1 Lebellion, 2 Albion the Branded Dragon, 1 Albion the Sanctifier, of course. We're on Titaniclet, playing Rinbrum. And right now the last Albus Fusion is Abelanatus, Double Gringrignol, Conquerdis, Guardian Chimera, Light and Darkness Dragonlord, especially to play under Shifter, and the Bowlord Furious Dragon. Since this locals was still pre-Rage of the Abyss, I already have some of the new cards, but they weren't legal yet, a lot of locals. Owner doesn't like it, which I totally get, it's very understandable. But at the same time, I really wanted to try this card, which is the new Chaos Dragon from Rage of the Abyss. It's a light level 8 dragon monster, and it just requires as fusion materials 1 light or darkness dragon monster plus 1 more dragon monster. So this is very accessible on your opponent's turn, but even on your turn. It has very nice destruction effects similar to Guardian Chimera. Doesn't get you the draw, but what you can do, if you can't get in your Sanctifier, for example, if you can't Puppet Lock, you bring this out with Brandon Red. And if you have Lost in Cartasia on the board, you can, with this, destroy 2 cards. Brandon Lost searches you a Shrouded Dragon. Then you can use Cartasia's effect to fuse this and the Shrouded Dragon into the Light and Darkness Dragonlord. So you get 2 pops plus a triple Omni Negate, which is very strong. If you do this or Puppet Lock, usually either should get you the win. So this is a very nice option for Brandon that I think definitely should be explored. Currently other locals I see is just like once every now and a while, just 1 player that rocks Tempire, which is very nice, obviously. For that deck, Abelanatus is very good. The Snake-Eyed Emperor, I don't know if you really bring out Hope Harbinger anymore because of all the nerfs, but we'll have to see. If yes, I would still play this and maybe cut the Guardian Chimera, but right now, I think this is the right shift. Of course, you could maybe combine Brandon with some of the Azamina cards, play Fusion Power with some of the Ubel cards, but I think this is a very good ratio coming forward for Rage of the Abyss. The side deck is what I was least happy with. We played the 1 Masquerade for time, triple Phantasme to fix our hand going second if our opponent is on link monsters. As a funny thrust target, we played the Grass is Greener, Feather Duster for the back row hate. For decks that can play around Feather Duster, like for example Runic, especially Runic stun variants. We have the Cosmics, also a very good draw against decks where it matters. We're on triple Dark Ruler, also a thrust target, but also a very good board breaker to just draw into. We're on the Ruma Cannon, the Barrier, and finally 2 Evenly Matched. As I said, the side deck is what I was least happy with. Especially Phantasme didn't really come up for me. I don't think it really matters, and obviously it conflicts with Evenly Matched. Evenly Matched being a crazy board breaker, and since you can just Puppet Lock your opponent afterwards on the crackback, there isn't really a way to return from this. If you play this in other decks, a lot of decks will still struggle because you don't have the battle phase, you don't put in any damage. Maybe you just build a suboptimal board, but with Branded, if you can somewhat combo, you usually Puppet Lock, so this card is very good going second. So what I would probably do is cut the Phantasme and include 3 Ash Blossom, which you could even with Furawas coming up main deck, but right now I would just play them in the side. The Rumakama Cannon, just there for tower decks, which I haven't really seen at our locals recently for quite a while, but I think can still come up and is a very good board breaker as well. D-Berry obviously for Tempai, Branded itself, ritual decks like Voiceless Voice, still very good. I wouldn't cut it. It's a very strong thrust target, and if it comes up, it's usually decisive and can win the game. But yeah, that's what I would change. Cut the Phantasme, maybe even cut the Daruma Karma Cannon, maybe change this for Ash. Of course, if you have the money to buy Furawas, just go into Furawas. Even main deck that card, because if you go first, you can just discard it, for example, for your Rebellion, your Branded Opening. But if you go second, this is obviously right now the strongest hand trap in the deck, or the strongest kind of interruption on the opponent's turn. It either completely stops them from playing because they don't want to give you like 20 draws, or you just draw a ton of cards, and with most decks, then you should easily break their board. You have enough resources. So yeah, that's the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you currently want in your branded deck. Some crazy tech options that I maybe don't know about or haven't mentioned. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.